Welcome to your Barbados Today evening news update for Monday, February the 5th, 2018. I'm Emmanuel Joseph. Thanks for joining us. In our top story at this hour, Attorney General Brathwaite says the island is on the right path with signs of a slowdown in criminal activity. Speaking with Barbados Today ahead of this week's conference to review crime, Brathwaite says he is hoping for a much better year after a spike in gun-related crime last year. He believes the country can keep a lid on crime once the Royal Barbados Police Force has the support of the public.
In particular, we need lots of cooperation from the public. The issue of crime is not just a police issue, as you very well know. Crime cannot be solved and or prevented before the ordinary man and woman putting their hands up and when they see wrong, trying to address it. Everything falls down when good men sees wrong and do nothing about it.
The cost of living has skyrocketed under the Democratic Labour Party government. The Barbados Labour Party advisor on economics, Clyde Maskell, told a political meeting last night that the country was hurting. He noted that while a few Barbadians may have received increases, they are now in the same boat as public servants who have not had a wage hike in about 10 years.
There are people in Barbados who, even though they're getting increases in salaries, they are hurting, and it is easy. All that is happening is that we are not in a position where the government is giving us enough funds to be able to deal with the increased prices. All of these big matters about GDP and foreign reserves and the fiscal deficit and the national debt, they are only important when you can look to your own pockets and your own circumstances. In 2008, January, when the Democratic Labour Party became the government of Barbados, you know what was the cost of a 3.5-pound chicken? It was $14.20. You know what is the cost of a similar 3.5-pound chicken yesterday? $19.77. So therefore, what you're saying is that in spite of the fact that Barbados have not had an increase in their salaries, prices have risen inordinately in this country. But let me go to a pound of chef parboiled rice to demonstrate my thing. 1,800 gram. 1,800 gram. In January 2008, chef-ware parboiled rice, 1,800 gram, was $5.35. You know what was the price of the same thing yesterday? $13.49. So even if you don't like to hear about GDP, even if you don't like to hear about the national debt, you must know, regardless of where you stand politically in this country, that you are in trouble, unless you are one of the privileged few.
His colleague, Jeffrey Bostic, the Barbados Labour Party's candidate for the city, says there's no mistaking the tough economic times, but he took issue with some of the new political parties, charging that they have not been calling on the government to give account of its stewardship. Addressing the rally at Bank Hall last night, Bostic warned that a vote for any third party is a vote for the DLP.
There are two Labour parties in this race, and some other parties. I'm not going to deal with the other parties tonight, except let me say this. It is passing strange that these other parties, with all the difficulties and hardships going on in this country, that they cannot attack the government for the poor performance and for the government's poor record. But they're joining up, coming together to attack the Barbados Labour Party. Their time will come. All I will say at this stage is that based on the utterances of these other parties, let me say to each and every one of you here, a vote for any of those parties is a vote for the Democratic Labour Party.
Meanwhile, St. Michael West Central MP James Paul is accusing the BLP of mounting a smear campaign against the government. Speaking at a party rally at Queen's College, Paul charged that the BLP had enlisted members of the public service to downplay the DLP's achievement, and he warned supporters to stay clear of gutter politics.
We have some, and I use the word some, unscrupulous civil servants who have been put there by the last administration to do everything possible to undermine candidates in certain constituencies. St. Michael West Central is one of them. But I don't fear. We will deal with them. And you have to call out people. You see, we sometimes run around cowering and don't want to say this about that person and that about person. No, you have to call them out.
At the same time, Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Harry Husbands, charged that the practice of gutter politics was evident when St. James Central MP Kerry Simmons referred to Prime Minister Francis Stewart as Brathwaite while addressing a BLP political meeting last week. He, however, disagreed with calls for Simmons to offer the PM an apology.
If it were me, I don't want any apology. An apology shows that you experience some contrition and that you repent your ways and you recognize the mistake. I want the record to show where in the early stages of this campaign, where they are going. So I can constantly contrast ourselves, compare and contrast what we are talking about and what we are doing with the gutter politics.
In other news now, the University of the West Indies today rolled out big birthday celebrations, and principal of the UWI Cayfield campus, Professor Eugene Barito, is happy with the university's contribution to regional development after 70 years. She credits the institution for shaping all aspects of the modern Caribbean society.
We have built the foundation of the modern Caribbean. You cannot go... You can't go anywhere throughout the English-speaking Caribbean and not see UWI's footprint. We are everywhere. And not often we talk about our outstanding leaders, our political leaders, our jurists and so on. But we have unsung heroes and heroines who, with that UWI education, have also contributed significantly to transforming Caribbean societies. So the singular achievement in the post-World War II period, because when UWI got going, in 1948, you start seeing graduates in the early 50s, we built the foundation, and I'm extremely proud of that.
Meanwhile, Chairman of the 70th Anniversary Planning Committee, Dr. Henderson Carter, says the UWI will be reaching out to the community in Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean on key national issues as part of its celebrations.
We will have panel discussions in several communities across Barbados. And this is really seriously engaging the community. For example, we'll be going to Oisins, Weston, the Glebe, St. George, St. Mark's, St. John, St. Anne's, St. Joseph, Boscobel, Spicestown, Princess Margaret Secondary School, to name just a few. And we'll be lecturing or giving talks, rather, on fisheries, hurricane preparedness, heritage tourism, entrepreneurship, and the legalization of marijuana.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
Welcome back with news from the region now. Drivers in Grenada will have to pay fines as high as $1,850 if they are caught using a mobile device while driving. It's part of an amendment to the road traffic regulations that was approved in both houses of Parliament last year. The changes took effect on February the 1st. Now, head of the traffic department of the Royal Grenada Police Force, Linford Kingston, said motorists could have an option of paying $55 for a ticket instead of going to court. Failure to pay the ticket within 31 days will result in the matter going to the magistrate's court, where the penalty will be fines and jail time. The law also provides for a breathalyzer test to be administered to drivers suspected of being under the influence of alcohol or drugs. And on the international scene, the Maldives government has declared a state of emergency for 15 days amid a political crisis in the island nation. The state of emergency gives security officials in the Indian Ocean state extra powers of arrest. The government has already suspended Parliament and ordered the army to resist any moves by the Supreme Court to impeach President Abdullah Yahim. Security forces have entered the Supreme Court and Mahmoud Abdul Gayoom, the ex-president, has been arrested. There were judges inside the court, but a court spokesman said he was unable to contact them. That's news, but for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook. We are also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM. I'm Emmanuel Joseph. Have a fantastic evening.